Hey guys, and welcome back to the Tuesday Night Football Show. I am Caleb, and just today, Angel is out of the office today. He had some stuff to take care of, so you're stuck with me today. Hope you guys had a great week, had a great weekend. Halloween weekend was this past Friday. Hope you guys had some good costumes, had some good candy, all that good stuff. But we are back, and what a crazy day today. Today was the NFL trade deadline, and we got some big trades to talk about. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it, of course, first and foremost. But how you doing, Quan? Oh,
I'm doing my bad.
Caught him off guard.
My mic on.
I caught him off guard.
Yes, sir. I'm doing great, man.
Yeah.
A lot of trades. It was fun watching everything go down today. So
yeah,
I'm
definitely
excited. And we had a good week 9.
Yeah, definitely.
Was that already week 9?
That was week 9, man. Which is crazy. It's crazy, man.
It makes me sad that the NFL season's halfway over.
Right. It's crazy. We've already reached that halfway point, but there's still a lot of teams that haven't had their bye week. Our Niners included in that. Although we kind of had like half a bye week when we had a Thursday night game into a Monday night game a couple weeks ago, but still, we're here nearing the end of the NFL season. So, let's see how the rest of this season shakes out. But today, like I said, we had some big trades coming out this week, and there was 8 trades made today, which is the second most ever made on a trade deadline day. First off, Jets are on fire sale, man. A little bit of a crazy day for them. They traded away Sauce Gardner to the Colts, and they got a haul out of Sauce Gardner, which is crazy to me because I haven't seen him doing too much really since his rookie year. He had a great rookie year, all-pro, fantastic year, and then it's kind of just been quiet for him the last couple years. So I'm kind of surprised. They got 2 first-round picks and Adonai Mitchell from the Colts out of that trade. I kind of like this for the Colts because even though they're giving up a lot, this is a team that needed some secondary help. They've been running, some iffy guys most of the year. They had Xavier Howard, being one of their starting corners for a part of this year. They needed secondary help outside of Kenny Moore, and this is what they got Sauce Gardner out of it. A decent corner, but I think they gave up a lot for him, so hopefully that pans out for him. With these 2 first-round picks, if they continue to perform like we think they will over this year and possibly next year as well, these are going to be turning into late 20s first-round picks, and so we'll see kind of how that shakes out with that. But Adonai Mitchell, I kind of like this for the Jets because he was kind of buried on the Colts depth chart over this last, this whole season, honestly, and since he's been in Indy, which is kind of why I questioned the pick to begin with. But, now the Jets get him. That's a great secondary receiver next to Garrett Wilson after they just also traded for John Mechie. So they got some good things brewing for New York right now with that receiving core, which is not something we've been really saying all year because honestly, the Jets have just been atrocious this year. Another thing that the Jets did today, they traded away cornerstone defensive tackle Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. Kind of a crazy trade because he was really the bright spot of that defense outside of Sauce Gardner, who they also traded. And they got a good bit out of him as well. They got a 2nd-round pick in this next year's draft, and they got a 1st-round pick in 27 and defensive tackle Mazi Smith. Mazi Smith has not lived up to that 1st-round selection from a couple years ago. Honestly, that Cowboys drafted that year really just had DeMarvion Overshown in it, and that's really the only bright spot out of that draft. Mazi Smith just hasn't lived up to it, so we'll see if he can kind of revive his career here in New York. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sold on it. We'll see how that pans out. Realistically, I think this is someone that they're going to have in the rotation, and in a couple years, they're going to draft somebody new and honestly replace him as the starting defensive tackle. They've got 5 first-round picks over these next 2 drafts, one of them being the 27 draft, which is supposed to be a very, very potent draft class, year. So we're going to see how that pans out, especially for quarterbacks, because if Justin Fields continues to kind of struggle, then that's going to be something they're going to have to look at. Bears made a trade.
Real quick, I want to ask you a question with that Gardner trade.
Yes.
Because it is a lot, right?
It's
and when
lot.
It first came out, it came out as 2 first-round picks.
Yes.
And probably 20 minutes later, they said that the receiver was thrown in there too.
Yes.
So looking at this trade, what does it look like?
So we're seeing a 1st-round pick out of this next year's draft. We're seeing a 1st-round pick in 27 alongside that A.D. Mitchell receiver. I like AD Mitchell. He was solid at Texas, and he's been decent when called upon for the Colts. Obviously, outside of that horrific drop a couple of weeks ago against the Rams, which went viral for all the wrong reasons. And then he didn't
play a lot after that.
No, they just kind of buried him again because he was buried most of his career in Indy, and then he got his call on, kind of made a mistake there, admitted he made the mistake, and then they immediately buried him back again.
But if you look at this, right, they had to put it on the weight of Micah Parsons' trade, because Micah Parsons' trade made this trade a lot more than it probably would have been. It probably would have only been 2 picks, but when you look at the Micah Parsons trade, it's the same exact thing. They got the picks and a player.
True, yes.
And so I think that just elevated the trade worth for a really good defensive player.
Yeah, true. I mean, I definitely agree here. I think the Micah Parsons trade is definitely going to influence a lot of these trades over the next year or so.
And I think that stopped a lot of trades.
I think so too, because I think we saw guys like Jalen Waddle was a name we were looking at potentially being traded, and according to multiple reports, Dolphins wanted multiple picks. They wanted at least I think a first round pick and a little bit more as well.
And I'm shocked Miami didn't make a trade, because they were literally getting questioned about everybody on the team.
Yes, they did make one trade yesterday, nothing today, but they did trade away Jalen Phillips yesterday to the Eagles for a third, who is already well familiar with the Vic Fangio system when he was with Miami. So we'll see definitely if Jalen Phillips can revive a little bit of his career, because with the injuries and everything he's dealt with since college, because he almost had to medically retire in college after I think his first year during his sophomore season. So there was a good chance he might not have made it to the NFL, went to Miami, fixed himself up, got healthy, got drafted, and it's just kind of been more of the same of the injuries and kind of just not being able to stay on the field, which is rough. But we'll see how he does in Philly. We'll see how Quinnen Williams does in Dallas. I do like this for Dallas. They're getting a phenomenal run stuffer and a phenomenal pass rushing D tackle, which they really needed, because honestly, Kenny Clark has been decent for them, but he hasn't been enough for them. They've still kind of let up really just a lot of big plays on that defense. So they needed somebody alongside him to kind of make those plays, and now they can use kind of them as like a package, combo here. And I do like that for Dallas, which is very tough for me to say because I cannot stand the Cowboys, but I do like this for the trade value out of it. They gave up a guy that they probably weren't going to re-sign after his rookie contract goes up, and they traded away a second-round pick, which could honestly, depending on how they sit at the end of this year, could turn into what is essentially a third-round pick with where it could sit in the draft order. And then a first-round pick in 27, which, again, kind of the same thing. It is a first-round pick, but if they sit in that 25 or later range, that's basically a second-round pick, and you're getting, honestly, a lot more value out of that, I feel like.
And that's, I think the pick they traded was one of Green Bay's, right?
It's so how they structured it is whatever pick is higher, whether it's their first round pick in the 27 or the Packers pick. So let's say, Cowboys, they have like the 23rd pick. Yeah. The Packers have like the 18th. They'll give up the Packers pick, which is, I think, the first time that's happened in the NFL, at least in most recent years. So we're going to see how that shakes out. It'll essentially put that trade in a freeze to where those picks cannot be used until basically that draft happens, until the setting, or until the
so you
standings
can't
are
trade
set.
those picks, either of those picks again.
You can't trade that first round pick in 27, because it all depends on the standings leading up into that draft. So it'll be until next offseason when that pick could be used again. But I mean, the Cowboys have a lot of first round picks. They've got like 3 or 4 or 5 in the next couple of drafts here. So they got a lot of ammunition to maybe make a big splash in the offseason, or honestly just load up on young talent. So we'll see kind of how that shakes out over these next few months. Another trade, kind of a smaller trade, but something important that the Bears needed. Bears trade for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. I am definitely butchering that name. Former first-round pick from the Bucks. Went to Cleveland after just kind of an unfortunate end to his Tampa Bay career with between injuries and just lack of playing time. Moved to Cleveland, and then they just traded him off for, essentially nothing. It was a 6th-round pick in this upcoming draft. That's basically nothing in most teams' eyes at this point, I feel like. But the Bears, they definitely needed some pass rush help, especially with a huge injury, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And this is something that can kind of fill in the hole next to Montez Sweat and just help him, help develop that pass rush a little bit more throughout these next few weeks and potentially into the playoffs, which the Bears are looking pretty good for playoffs this year. They're sitting pretty in this NFC North, which is a very tough division this year. Every team in that division is sitting around 4 or 5 wins. So it's definitely going to be a tough stretch to go through, but I think they can make a playoff push this year. Another pretty big trade we saw today. The Jacksonville Jaguars trading for Jacoby Myers. The saga has finally ended. Jacoby Myers has been saying basically since the offseason, either pay me or trade me. That there's the only two options. And then as soon as it kind of came out that they weren't going to pay him, he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. I will play. I will work my ass off for this team, but I'm just not. I don't want to be here anymore. I will do my best to basically get out of here, is how he kind of was over this season. And the Raiders got some decent haul in for him. They got a 4th and a 6th round pick in this year's draft, which for the Jags, that's kind of like a mid-round pick, depending on how they sit at the end of this season. Quan, what do you feel about the Jacoby Myers trade?
I just think it's funny that he just lost to them and then ends up
right.
It ends up being a good thing,
right?
Because now his team record is actually better,
right?
Going there, I think it's a good trade. I just hate that every Raider wants to be traded.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Every year, and we're getting to the point where Max had said some stuff the last couple days where it sounded like, maybe he's throwing his name in the box to get traded.
Yeah,
but it's just sad. It's a sad franchise, and I hate to see it because they're in Vegas now. So I want them to at least be decent for us to watch.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
But just the fact that they're that bad, man, it's just sad to see that nobody wants to stay here. Devontae Adams last year,
right?
Adams,
Jacoby Myers.
I mean, not Adams. I just said him. The running back.
Oh, Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs.
We were just talking about him before the show.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of Raiders over the last 5-ish years basically not want to be there. Really, the only Raiders that have wanted to stay were Derek Carr and Max Crosby. And Derek Carr basically got ran out of town by the ownership. And Max Crosby, they're just not giving him anything. They have tried to kind of fix the issues of this team, but they're not fixing them properly, and they're not fixing the right ones. Like they kind of thought they solved the quarterback position with Geno Smith. That obviously hasn't worked out so far. And they left the offensive line to basically just rot, which meant that Geno Smith has no time in the pocket. And it's just this Raiders team just hasn't been able to formulate structure in the last few years. Really, honestly, since they moved to Vegas, it's been worse. They had the one good year a couple years ago, but ever since then, it's just been like 4, 5, 6 win seasons. And that's basically all the Raiders have done in the last 5 years, which is rough. But I do like this for Jacksonville regardless. They're getting a really solid receiver that's going to be able to pair really nicely alongside Brian Thomas, especially after the Travis Hunter injury, who's going to be, he's going to be sidelined for a few weeks. He's placed on IR, which we talked about last week. But this is something that they definitely needed to basically just help boost their season. Obviously, with the Colts being as potent as they have been this year, they need something to kind of catch up to them a little bit. I still think that they can win this division. I think their best football is ahead of them. So hopefully that stays true. And hopefully with Jacoby Myers, Trevor Lawrence starts looking a lot better because he's kind of been 50-50 this season. And they definitely need to start sparking some offense here.
And Colts only took their first, that was their first loss, like real loss, right?
Yes, yeah.
So with that, because they got beat down the whole game.
They got smacked. It was rough.
So with that, we're going to see how they take a loss. Because the first loss is like, we should have won that game.
Right.
Let's keep moving on. Let's keep doing what we're doing. But
exactly.
Taking that loss, how's Daniel Jones going to handle that? Because he looked like Giants Daniel Jones.
He did.
He didn't look that great. And then, so I think it's important for them to get some more firepower in the offense and go from there, because they have a good team. And, with the Jags, they have a really good team. If this loss affects them,
right,
they could easily take that division still.
Absolutely, yeah. They can definitely take advantage of this, loss that the Colts just took this last weekend. But I mean, I'm hoping for that, honestly, more so because I really do believe in this Jags team. I've watched Trevor Lawrence since he was coming out of high school, heading into that Elite 11 camp, and I've loved watching him at Clemson. And now watching him in Jacksonville, he's definitely had a rough going in Jacksonville to start his career. Obviously, having Urban Meyer as your first head coach, that did not work out at all. Doug Peterson was good for about a season and a half, and then it was just kind of slow from there. Now with Liam Cohen, I'm hoping that throughout the course of this year and over the next couple of years, he starts to develop a little bit more and actually get some development, because he really hasn't gotten any in these last few years. And
the Colts have the Falcons in London or somewhere.
Oh, they're in Ireland this week.
Ireland. Then at the Chiefs versus Texans. At the Jags, they still have Jags twice.
Ooh, that's good. I think that's a split.
At
honestly.
Seattle.
That's a tough game.
At home against 49ers.
Yep.
Versus the Jags, and at Texans to end the season. So the second half of their schedule is very tough.
Absolutely.
They could lose half of those.
Oh, absolutely. I think they could easily split all those divisional games between the Jags and the Texans. They probably, is it in Arrowhead or at home?
It's an Arrowhead.
Oh, then that could be a loss right there, especially with how the Chiefs have been playing these last few weeks.
And that's after them coming back from Ireland.
Right. Yeah, that's a really tough stretch for the Colts. And the Jags, I believe their schedule kind of opens up a little bit more over these next few weeks. So hopefully they can capitalize on their schedule while the Colts maybe start to free fall a little bit.
I'll pull up their schedule real quick. They have the Texans this week.
Yep.
Chargers at the Cardinals, at the Titans, versus Colts, versus Jets, at the Broncos, at the Colts, and then Titans to end the season.
Yeah, okay. I mean, 2 games against the Titans, that's definitely a lot easier for them. The Cardinals one is kind of 50-50. I mean, obviously, they just went in and beat Dallas.
They're so bipolar.
It's the most, well, it's them, honestly, it's them, Miami, and Atlanta that are the, like, bipolar teams this year, where you have no idea what team you're getting this, that week. But definitely we'll see kind of how that shakes out for the rest of the season with those 2 teams. Another, I think, honestly, one of the bigger trades, I think this is probably the 3rd biggest trade this week. The Seahawks trading for Rashid Shaheed, giving up only a 4th and a 5th round pick in this upcoming draft. Definitely something that they needed to capitalize on. Sam Darnold's been playing great football, but what Rashid Shaheed allows them to do is it opens up JSN, because now you cannot double JSN every single down, because Rashid Shaheed is almost as good as a receiver as JSN. Granted, he's a few years older, but Rashid Shaheed, he's a great field stretcher. He's a great deep ball threat. He's been over the last couple of years for the Saints with some very shaky quarterback play, and just honestly some pretty shaky play calling in general, being in New Orleans. But I really do like this for Seattle. It's rough because I can't stand Seattle, but they made a great trade for them. They only gave up a couple of late round picks, and they're getting a star receiver to pair alongside JSN. And once Cooper Kupp gets healthy and starts getting a little bit back into his his former self from a couple years ago, then that offense is going to be terrifying to deal with week in and week out. And then a couple more. The Cowboys, they made a second trade as well. They traded for Logan Wilson, former Cincinnati Bengals linebacker, who leads or is tied for the lead in middle linebacker interceptions since 2020 with 11. He's been balling out over the last few years. I believe the scheme has changed a little bit, so he lost a lot of playing time to the rookie. I forget who. I think it was Javon Baker, I believe is what his name is. And Cowboys only gave up a 7th round pick, so basically a bag of potato chips for a captain of the Bengals defense and a former Pro Bowler. I believe a former All-Pro as well. Logan Wilson, he was a baller for a long time for those few years. And then this last year he got hurt, so he only played 11 games. This year has kind of been, he lost a lot of playing time to younger guys. But I think, again, here we have Dallas, who really don't have a whole lot on defense. They really don't. So he's going to get a lot of playing time and a lot of opportunity to capitalize on a potential new contract in the next year or so.
Yeah.
And then one more, we had the Chargers make 2 trades today, but honestly, only one of them really matters for me, I think. Trevor Penning from the Saints heading over to the Los Angeles Chargers. He's someone who can play guard or tackle for them. Obviously, after losing Joe Alt for the season with his injury from this last weekend, that's something that he can plug into that spot, at least for this year. And then next year, he can slide right into that left guard spot. So now you're going to have Joe Alt, you're going to have Trevor Penning, you'll have Mekhi Becton on the other side, and I believe Trey Pipkins, Rashawn Slater. I forgot about Rashawn Slater. I'm so sorry. That's going to be a really good offensive line coming into next season with all these star-studded, tackles. Trevor Penning, former 1st round pick. He hasn't really lived up to the hype, but they only gave up like a 6th or a 7th round pick in this upcoming draft. So really not a whole lot of give up for a guy that could turn into something special. Really, he's only like a 2nd or 3rd year guy, so he has a lot of potential to live up to that 1st round grade in this next couple of years. That's going to do it for these trades, though. Like I said, a lot of active trades this week. Let's go ahead and go into this previous week recap. A lot of big games coming out this week. Lamar Jackson came back on Thursday Night Football and absolutely put belt to ass against the Miami Dolphins. I mean, we kind of knew this was going to happen. I even saw there's a guy on TikTok who he's a diehard Miami Dolphins fan, and yet he was like, honestly, there's not even a Thursday Night Football game. Like, it's just not a game. It's just not there. He's like, he started talking about the Miami Hurricanes. He was so like, I don't want to talk about the Dolphins. It's just that bad. And I mean, it's exactly what we kind of expected. Lamar Jackson balled out, 4 touchdowns, 200 passing yards. He was fantastic. Derrick Henry looked pretty solid this week as well with 120 rushing yards. Honestly, this is definitely something that the Baltimore Ravens needed to win, because honestly, the rest of their schedule doesn't get a whole lot easier. And yet they're still honestly in the race for that playoff spot. They're still definitely in the race for winning that division after, Steelers lost last week after obviously they won this week against the Colts. But this is definitely something that could shake up that AFC North race throughout the next few weeks and see how that looks for playoff time for Lamar coming back from his injury. Next up, too, we have Atlanta at New England. I mean, honestly, kind of a close game, kind of an ugly game. But, I mean, Drake May, he's been balling out all year. He threw a couple of touchdowns this week. Atlanta didn't even look half bad. Michael Penix threw 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Drake May's been, these guys, they've been balling out all year, the Patriots. And they had a close game against, a decent Atlanta team who we were just talking about a minute ago is one of those teams where you don't know what kind of team you're going to be getting. You're either going to be getting the equivalent of the Cleveland Browns or you're going to be getting like the 2007 Patriots. Like there's just no in between. These guys are fantastic. They've been balling out all year. And they kind of got, even though it was a loss, I do like this for Atlanta heading into these next few weeks. There's a lot of divisional games coming up for them. And we'll definitely, hopefully, they're going to use this as a game to kind of get right over these next few weeks against guys like the Saints or anything like that as well. Next up, a pretty ugly win, a close win as well. Chargers at Tennessee Titans. The Titans, despite not being that good of a football team, they've been playing some pretty decent football over the last few weeks. Obviously, keeping it close against Arizona a few weeks ago, now keeping it close against a pretty solid Chargers team. Obviously, they lost Joe Alt in this game, which is rough. He's done for the year. But still, Justin Herbert, he looked pretty solid in this game. The Chargers have been really solid all year. Nothing super special, but they've looked decent. They've been competitive all season. And the Titans still kept this game close. Cam Ward, he's doing his best with what he's got. He doesn't have a whole lot in this Titans team, but he's definitely someone that we have to keep an eye on over these next couple of years as they look for a new head coach. They start to reload this offense a little bit, and honestly, the defense. They just traded away one of their, they're one of their solid defensive tackles in Draymond Jones, the Ravens, yesterday. So we'll see how that looks for them over this next, the rest of this season and looking into next season as well. But I do like this win for the Chargers. They definitely needed this win, especially now with losing Joe Alt. Granted, they made the trade for Trevor Penning, but that is honestly a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. That's not something that they are going to be super excited about this year. That's something that they just needed to get done now, just for the right now. Another win, another close game. We've had a lot of close games this weekend. One of the closest, Bears-Bengals, which was a shootout. Almost 90 points scored in this game. It was a huge win for the Bears. They had, Caleb Williams looked great, 20 to 34, 280 yards and 3 touchdowns passing, including the game winner to Colston Loveland, the rookie tight end, who balled out and finally came onto the scene after having a pretty quiet rookie year so far. Colston Loveland with 118 yards and 2 touchdowns looked fantastic. Kyle Monangai, the rookie running back, also filling in great for DeAndre Swift against, granted, a pretty weak Bengals defense. But honestly, I mean, you have to be excited as to what the Bears are doing right now, looking at the next few weeks. We talked about it a little bit ago. They are definitely still in the running for that division championship and looking into the playoffs as well. That division is super, super close. Everyone's looking at 4 or 5 wins right now, partially because of that Packers tie earlier this season. If they win that game, this is definitely a much different conversation for them. But realistically, you have to look and love what we're seeing from Chicago. Ben Johnson, he's looking like he's starting to kind of pick up a little bit, starting to look more like his Detroit Lions over the last couple years. And I'm really excited to see what the Bears do for the rest of the season. Joe Flacco honestly didn't even play half bad. Almost 500 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. You cannot honestly ask for anything else other than a near perfect game. Granted, he threw a couple of picks, but when you're slinging the rock for almost 500 yards, you're bound to throw a couple of interceptions at this point, especially throwing nearly 50 passes, which is crazy to me. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of passing. But T. Higgins had a career day, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns out of him. He looked fantastic. It looks like this Bengals offense is starting to click a little bit more. We just need that Bengals defense to kind of catch up. We were talking about this game a little bit earlier as well. Colts at Steelers. Colts finally found themselves against a solid opponent. And the Colts, granted the score is pretty close, 20-27, but it was just clear that the Colts were not on the same level as the Steelers this week. Granted, the Colts could be better than the Steelers if they use this game as a get-right game. They look at this, they look at the film, and they say, hey, these are the mistakes we made. This is what we need to do to get better. They took this, they traded for Sauce Gardner to help with that secondary, which is definitely something they needed to do. And we'll see how that shakes up over these next few weeks, seeing if they can really just kind of fix their season. Daniel Jones, like we were saying earlier, kind of turned into like a pre-Brian Dable Daniel Jones. I don't know why I can't talk today. It is one of those days, man.
It's hard going solo.
It's hard, man. You got to do all the talking. I'm just gonna slip on one words every now and again. So I'm just gonna apologize in advance for that. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty decent though. I mean, 200 passing yards and a touchdown, nothing super special. But Jaylen Warren had a pretty solid day. Granted, he didn't have too many rushing yards, but he got a couple of rushing touchdowns as well. That's honestly, this Steelers team is getting a little scary. We have to worry about them versus the Ravens and who's going to take the division this year. Because right now the Steelers are in that conversation to just kind of take it right now. But Ravens, they just got Lamar back. They're going to be getting a couple of guys back over the next few weeks because they've got a couple of defensive injuries, if I remember correctly, that they are going to have to worry about. But with those guys coming back potentially, with the trade they just made for Draymond Jones, this is definitely a Ravens team that if I was a Steelers fan, I would be worried about him because you're going to have to play him in a few weeks as well, I believe. An ugly game, a brutal game. Denver at Houston. Houston's been playing some pretty football over these last few weeks. They've been playing a lot of grungy, gritty football, tight games. CJ Stroud went out with a concussion, which is definitely rough. Honestly, if CJ Stroud plays the rest of this game, they might win that game. Because the Broncos, yeah, they've been winning football games. Yeah, they're 7-2, but most of their games, if not all of them, have been one-score games. They've been one-score wins. And if I'm a Bronco fan, I'm kind of worried heading into the latter half of this season, heading into teams against like the Chiefs, playing them at least once. I don't know if they've played them already off the top of my head, but you have to worry about them in that game. You have to worry about potentially in the playoffs against Buffalo, against Baltimore or Pittsburgh, whoever makes it out of that division. The Patriots as well. There's a lot of very scary teams in the AFC, and if I'm the Broncos fan, I am worried on how my team is looking throughout the second half of this year. Because again, it's just a lot of close, ugly wins, not any pretty football coming from this Denver Broncos team.
But they keep winning, and they're leading the division, which I picked them to win the division.
Yes,
I just want to brag about that again. But with the Chiefs losing
right
against Buffalo, which they try to let them come back and win.
Yes.
It's looking better for them to win this division. I want to go through their record. Their schedule real quick.
Yes.
They got the Raiders.
Yep.
On Thursday.
That's probably a win, honestly.
That's definitely a win.
Yeah.
These are at home. Raiders and then Chiefs.
Okay.
So that Chiefs game is going to be huge. If they could win that game and get up a game on them.
That might be the division right there.
That's a huge game. And then at Commanders with Mariota as their quarterback.
No Jaden Daniels, with no Luke McCaffrey, with no Marshawn Lattimore as well. Like there's a lot of injuries coming from that team.
I think they're going to start sitting a lot of people that are dealing with nagging stuff.
Yes.
Because I think they need to just wrap it up, and I think they know that.
Yep, absolutely.
And then at the Raiders, so they're coming here in December.
Okay.
Versus the Packers, versus the Jags, at the Chiefs, and then at home against the Chargers. So
there's some ugly games there.
There's some ugly ones.
There's
some ugly ones. There's
still got to play the Chiefs twice. You have the Jags game, the Packers
and
game.
Raiders play them good. Division games are always tough. You never know.
Absolutely, yeah. And even though they're playing at home this Thursday against the Raiders on a short week, they can make it scrappy.
And Thursday night games are always
right.
A little different too. But,
Thursdays are so weird, man. It's always rough,
unpredictable.
Absolutely. Speaking of unpredictable, the Vikings picking up a win in Detroit this weekend. I honestly did not see that coming, considering this is J.J. McCarthy's third professional football game in the NFL. I did not see that coming, man. J.J. McCarthy looked pretty solid. I'm not going to lie. He looked pretty good against a pretty solid Detroit Lions team. But we were just saying, divisional games are always tough. You really never know what's going to happen because you're going to see, games like this or games where the Raiders a couple of years ago, they beat the undefeated Chiefs at that point in Arrowhead in the last game of the season, when they were like a 2-13 team. Like they were horrible. And they ended up going into Arrowhead a couple years ago and just smacking around the Chiefs, which was beautiful to see, don't get me wrong. But honestly, this is a close game. 27-24, but this is a great win for the Vikings, who definitely needed this win, especially with kind of being the low point of the NFC North so far this season. The Vikings have been playing some kind of ugly football this year. They definitely needed this game to kind of get right and potentially look at a playoff spot in a few weeks here. And even too, with how close this division is, they could vie for the division this season. Like I said a few times, every team in this division has like 4 or 5 wins. It's a very close division. It's a tough division. North football is always rough. Whether it's AFC or NFC, it's always going to be tough football. It's punch in the mouth football. I'm honestly excited to see what the Vikings do for the rest of this year. I mean, Jared Goff didn't even play half bad. I mean, 25 of 37, just under 300 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Not a half bad game from him. But realistically, the Lions, they definitely needed to win this game, especially because you're at home. Because I believe you still have to go into Minnesota in a few weeks and play that game. Are you going to lose that game too and just get swept by the Vikings and potentially cost yourself a playoff spot? I mean, that's realistically what we're looking at right now as a team. And I don't know if I like that for the Lions so far. Honestly, a very surprising game right here. Carolina Panthers upsetting the Packers this week. Definitely
they've been winning. Everyone keeps saying these are guaranteed wins against Carolina, but they've won 5 games.
Right.
People are picking them to win 4 games the whole season.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, they've been surprising people all year. So it's getting to the point where it's not a shocker anymore that they're winning some games.
It's definitely, yeah. But my thing is, too, is like this is a game in Lambeau Field against a pretty solid Packers team. And they just got carved
a big
up.
Sunday night win.
Right. I mean, the Packers really needed this win, especially to stay ahead in the division, which I think they still are because of that tie earlier in the year to the Cowboys. But the Panthers, that's a nice little win for them. They definitely needed that. Bryce Young coming back from his little injury after this last week. The Panthers, it's actually a funny statistic. There was a Panthers-specific football podcast. I forget exactly what it was called, but they had to, so they actually shut down that podcast because they wanted to focus more on their families and stuff, right? Since that podcast has shut down, the Panthers are 4-1, which is because the biggest 2 reasons for them shutting down that podcast were the Panthers weren't winning and they wanted to be able to spend more time with their families. It was, if the Panthers were winning, they might have stayed going. But since then, the Panthers have gone 4-1, which is interesting, to say the least. But Panthers, hey, they're a scrappy team. Rico Dowdle has been playing great football. That's the starting running back for them moving forward. I can pretty much guarantee it. He's earned himself an extension this offseason. Chuba Hubbard, I mean, yeah, he got injured, but Rico Dowdle took advantage of that and took Chuba's snap count. They tried to kind of work Chuba back in and see if he was, still the guy, and it just hasn't worked out. Rico Dowdle, he's having a career year against, all these teams, including the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, his former team. But 130 yards and 2 touchdowns this week. Definitely a huge win for the Panthers as they potentially look to take the division from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have had a lot of injuries this year. Because realistically, I think the NFC South is a 2-horse race. It's between them and it's between Tampa. I don't trust Atlanta for the entire purpose of I have no idea what team I'm getting out of them. I don't know. At least with Carolina, I know that they're going to play competitive
Carolina
football.
Winning this division? I mean, that's just wild to me that we're even having that discussion, but it's possible.
Crazy. It's entirely possible because even though, they've not had a stellar season, they've played competitive enough to stay in it and to stay. Honestly, they've stayed playoff ready most of this season. They've had, they had a rough start, but they've picked it up and they've been balling the last few weeks. Granted, they've had a couple of easier wins, like they had the game against the Jets a couple weeks ago, but this is definitely a tough game in Lambeau Field. It's always tough to play in that game, in that arena, but definitely a good win for the Panthers and a good win for the NFC South, and a good loss for the NFC North for the rest of these teams. Next game we're going to talk about Jacksonville versus the Raiders. The Raiders losing in overtime to the Jags, going for a 2-point conversion that doesn't shake out, unfortunately. Ended up costing them the game. Honestly, I don't know if I love that play call. I understand of wanting to just walk away with a win, not wanting to walk away with a tie, because ties always make everything confusing when it comes to these records at the end of the year coming playoff time. But if I'm Pete Carroll, you're probably not gonna I don't, these 2-point conversions in overtime, they're always tough because you know what's gonna happen at that point. If I'm Pete Carroll, I'm taking that field goal, I'm just tying the game, I'm moving on to next week on Thursday Night Football. But he decided to go for 2 and ended up costing them the football game, which is rough. But
I want them to go for 2. I like when people take those chances. You either win or lose. I hate ties. I almost think you should have to go for 2. I wish the rule would kind of be changed.
I can understand that.
No ties, but with them struggling the way they are, I don't think a tie would have did anything for them. It's like we didn't win, we didn't lose. So I think you have to go for the win. Geno had a dude wide open in the end zone.
Yep.
And the ball got tipped. It was a good defensive play.
Yeah.
Geno has to be more aware.
Absolutely.
Because dude jumped before Geno threw it.
Yep.
So he threw it into his hand.
Yeah.
So he threw that into the tip. So that was Geno's just not the guy.
No, absolutely not. And it's crazy because quite honestly, Geno had a pretty solid game most of this game, throwing 4 touchdowns. It's the first time all season he's thrown more than 2, I believe. And Brock Bowers came back and finally looked like Brock Bowers that we've known in previous, with last year. rocking 127 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked fantastic, putting up, in fantasy terms, he put up 43 fantasy PPR points this week, which almost met his entire total for the rest of the games this season. He had 43.5 fantasy points the rest of this year. He got 43.3 in this last game against the Jags, which is crazy. He had a fantastic game. Definitely a get-right game for him coming back from his injury that he's been dealing with basically all year against a decent Jaguars team, a very solid Jaguars team. But Jaguars, they won, honestly, in spite of their quarterback play. Trevor Lawrence did not look super great here, throwing that interception, not throwing any touchdowns. No rushing touchdowns from him either. Just a rushing touchdown from the rookie Bashal Tutin. But the Jags, hey, they're looking pretty solid coming into these next few weeks. We talked about them a little bit ago. They have kind of an easy schedule opening up with 2 games against the Titans coming up as well. We'll see kind of how that shakes out over the course of these next few weeks. Next game here, we've got the New Orleans Saints against the LA Rams. Rams, put belt to ass against the Saints. We kind of knew that was going to happen going into this week. We knew that the Rams were going to absolutely murder the Saints, especially starting Tyler Shuck for his first game, which I still don't agree with that. I think they should have just kept Spencer Rattler in there because realistically, most of this season, he's been playing good football. He just had a bad stretch of 2 games, and they immediately benched him, which is definitely rough. But one thing we want to show you, we do have a little bit of a clip for Matt Stafford here, who had a great game this week with 24-32 passing, just under 300 passing yards and 4 touchdowns this week. Kyren Williams looked great as well. But let's see this nice little play here. Nice little deep out to his guy there, and a nice little goal line rush. Nice fade, little fake of the run. Honestly, Rams have been playing great football this year. They are definitely one of the scarier parts of the NFC right now. And I definitely, even though we're playing them, I believe this week as well, our Niners are playing against Rams this week. It's at home, but this is definitely going to be a tough game. And quite frankly, the Rams have been balling this week and all year, honestly, just looking great, as if they're basically just playing some Madden against a lot of these teams. They're just kind of throwing it up there and just kind of seeing what happens. They don't have to dial up anything crazy. They're just playing good, smart football. Matt Stafford is looking like an MVP. He could honestly win MVP this year with a pretty shaky rest of the league. I think right now the 2 leading guys in this race are him and probably Jonathan Taylor from the Colts, who have been playing some great football this year as well. But Matt Stafford's been balling all year, and we're seeing right now, granted he's carving up the Saints, which is not exactly the toughest thing to do, but he's absolutely carving up this defense, placing the ball perfectly every single time. He's just looking great, man. You got to love him, especially after having a pretty rough career in Detroit for most of that time. But definitely good to see Matt Stafford kind of bounce back a little bit with LA here. And they've just been balling out all year, man. It's been wild. It's been rough to watch because I'm a Niner fan. I don't love to see the Rams do great, but honestly, you got to respect what they're doing. Sean McVay's having a career. He's having a career year with his coaching. He's doing fantastic. Next game here we have the Chiefs against the Bills, a possible playoff matchup as well. This game definitely has some playoff implications. Josh Allen finding his way to just beat the Chiefs in the regular season again. Granted, he's been unable to do that in the playoffs over his career, but this is definitely something that they needed this week. They already know kind of how this team is going to function over the course of the rest of the season and looking into playoffs as well, because they're probably going to play the Chiefs again in the playoffs like they do. It seems like every year they play the Chiefs in the playoffs.
I wish they would just have them play a 5-game series in the playoffs to see who goes to the Super Bowl.
Right, because it seems like every single time the Chiefs and the Bills play in the playoffs, that's a nice little throw.
Nice toss.
That's a nice, just to take the ball. I don't want it.
But they're so evenly matched, and
right.
Buffalo just cannot get over the hump.
Right. It's been so close. A couple years ago we had the Bills. They took the lead with like 10 seconds left or something like that. The Chiefs ended up taking a field goal. That was insane. That's the entire reason we have these playoff rules now. Every single year, this Bills team is 10 seconds or less away from winning the game against the Chiefs, whether it's in the divisional round or the AFC Championship, and they just can never get it done. It's always been rough, man. But honestly, I love to watch Josh Allen play football. He reminds me of Cam Newton a lot with how he plays, just slinging the rock downfield and running people over all at the same time. He's been playing great football his entire career. This is why he's getting paid as much as he is from the Buffalo Bills. And do
you think this is the year they do get past Kansas City in the playoffs?
I think they get past Kansas City. I don't know if they make it to the Super Bowl because, quite frankly, this receiving core kind of scares me. They don't have anyone special. Josh Allen has been playing Superman football all year, and he cannot do that every single week, especially in the playoffs when you're going to have teams, whether it's Jacksonville, who's going to be playing tough football for you, whether you have Baltimore, whether it's Pittsburgh, there's a ton of teams, whether it's New England. I think they lost New England already, and they might have to face them again in the playoffs. I don't think in the playoffs, the Bills are going to beat against any of these teams with how they've been playing these last few weeks. It's been very close. The receivers keep dropping balls. I don't trust this Bills team to make. I trust them to make a run in the sense of I think they'll make it at least past the first round. I don't know if they make it past that with how they're playing football right now. The receivers need to play better. That's the big thing. That's my biggest takeaway, honestly, for the Bills. They just need to be playing better. The Chiefs, they didn't look that good in this game, but they stayed competitive. Mahomes was just kind of rough. He had 250 passing yards, but he didn't have no touchdowns which is not something you need. You can't have that, especially in a game that's this important against a team that is basically your rival outside of the division. That is your rival, is the Bills, and you cannot have that kind of game. Next up, honestly, another belt-to-ass game this week, the Seahawks against the Washington Commanders. It's just the Seahawks have been playing near perfect football all season, and now they've made the trade for Rashid Shaheed, looking, honestly, they could be the best team in the NFL right now, potentially. Like, they've been playing fantastic football this year, and they're only going to get better. Granted, rough loss this week for the Commanders, losing Jaden Daniels with his gruesome injury. That's disgusting. Yeah, no, that right there. Your arm is not supposed to do that. In case you guys were unaware, your arm is not supposed to do that. When I saw this clip online, my biggest question is, why the hell was he still in the game? You were down 38-7. You had no reason to have him in the football game at that point, and now you've probably lost Jaden Daniels for the year. Quite frankly, it's complete mismanagement. They did this to RG3 a handful of years ago, and now they're doing the exact same thing with Jaden Daniels. I don't understand why this team, and it's crazy too, because it is an entirely new regime from the last time this happened with RG3. New ownership, new GM, new coach, new team, new everything. And yet they have made the exact same mistake in almost the exact same way. Again, which is crazy too. I saw this stat. The RG3 injury was also against Seattle to the same team. You did the exact same thing. It's just team mismanagement. It's player mismanagement. And it's pissing me off because we're seeing a lot of these young guys get hurt before they can really get going. And it's because their team is not putting them in the position to win. And here, at that point, when you're already down that big, take your star guy out of the lineup when he's already been injured for the last few weeks. You can't be doing that. You can't do that to a guy that could honestly be one of the top quarterbacks in the next couple of years. Like, he has a big career ahead of him. And now that could, if they keep doing this, that's going to get cut short, quite frankly. Last game we're going to talk about, Arizona Cardinals walking into Dallas and smacking them around. And Gallo likes to say this every week, and I think it's honest. We need to put that on like a shirt or something. I have my favorite two teams, him for the Washington Commanders and whoever's playing Dallas. And honestly, as much as I don't like the Cardinals, granted, I kind of just feel bad for them because they just kind of are rough to watch most of the time. They walked into Dallas, played great, smart football. It looks like Jacoby Brissett is going to be their starting quarterback moving forward for this year at least. Granted, Kyler Murray's still got his injury that he's been kind of dealing with most of this year, but Kyler Murray has not been playing good about half of his career. He'll play good for about 6 games of football, and then it's like watching a guy on Madden drunk. It's weird. He doesn't understand what happens on the field a lot of the time. He can't see over his line because he's so short. It's weird to watch, man. I like Kyler Murray. I think he could be a solid quarterback. I just don't think he's the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, and I think that we could see after next year, because next year is really the only time where he's got a big cap hit against him. He's got about $50 million as his cap hit next year, and after that, they can get out of his contract. So that's something that we can be looking at after next season, where there's not going to be a big penalty for them if they decide to trade him. And considering the 27 class has a lot of solid quarterbacks that could be coming up, we might see Arizona be in the market for a quarterback in a couple years, and it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, with how Kyler Murray's been playing most of these last couple years and his injuries.
You think Brissett's going to play the rest of the year?
Yes, it looks like, because he's still, Kyler Murray's still battling his injury. So at least for these next couple of weeks, Kyler Murray's not going to be playing.
They were talking about it coming back, this last night's game, and he ended up not. But Yeah, that'd be interesting because Brissett's playing really well, and he's definitely looks more consistent.
Absolutely. He's elevated that offense.
Kyler Murray, yeah.
He's absolutely elevated that offense. The biggest thing I saw with Kyler Murray and his injury, I think it was either this morning or last night. It looks like he might have re-aggravated his injury just a little bit, but they're going to be getting some more testing done on him to see kind of where he's sitting at right now, and they're going to reevaluate in a few weeks. So at least for the next 3 or 4 games, we're going to see Jacoby Brissett be the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. But after that, who knows what's going to happen? The NFL is a business at the end of the day. And granted, if Kyler Murray is healthy enough, they'll probably start him in those next couple, in those last few games after he comes back. But if Jacoby Brissett is playing good enough, they might just keep him off the bench and wait until the offseason to reevaluate. And we could have a quarterback controversy in this offseason, which is kind of crazy to say, considering how many times Jacoby Brissett has bounced around the league in the last couple years. But that's going to do it for this weekly recap. Let's go ahead and head into my picks for this upcoming week. And for me, we were just talking about this game earlier. Even though it's a divisional game, I'm still taking the Broncos over the Raiders. I don't trust this Raiders team as much as I want to trust them because I live in Vegas. The Broncos, even though they've been playing ugly football, the Raiders, I don't know if I can call what they're doing is football. I don't know if I can call it football. It's been very bad most of this year. Granted, they had a good game against Jacksonville. I will give them that. But on a short week, I don't know if I trust this Raiders team to play potent football in Denver as well. This one as well, Ravens over the Vikings is who I'm taking. Granted, yes, JJ McCarthy just walked into Detroit and won. I don't know if I trust him against Lamar Jackson necessarily. I think Lamar Jackson is going to tear up that Vikings defense a little bit as they've kind of started to slip over the last couple of weeks, letting up a lot of points to some pretty solid teams. But with Lamar Jackson back and the Ravens at mostly full strength, I think we're going to see Lamar Jackson and the Ravens walk away with a win this week. And then I'm taking the Panthers over the Saints. We were just talking about them earlier. They're playing good football, smart football. And I think they're going to absolutely take this game against the Saints this week. And Gel, he also sent me his picks for this week as well. He is going to be taking Denver over the Raiders. He's taking Indianapolis, and then he's taking the Jets to win as well. He loves to take the Jets winning football games. Granted, the last time it did work out for him, so I will give him that. But I don't know who they. Let me double check here. Who are the Jets? The Jets are playing the Browns. Okay, that's a reasonable pick. I actually don't hate that as a pickup. The Jets could definitely win that game, but with these trades that they've made, I don't know how they're going to fare against Quinshon Judkins if he's back and he's playing at full strength. Because now that Sauce Gardner's out, now that Quinnen Williams is gone as well, we're going to see how this Jets defense looks this week. Quan, what do you got for this week? Maybe
this week, how did I do last week?
You went, I believe, 2-1 last week. You did good though. You did good.
I forgot which one I missed.
You missed. Let me double check. Let me see if I can refresh my memory here. Because I know you picked Steelers. You picked the Cardinals to win. Actually,
I might have went 3-0, bro. Because I picked Niners too, right?
Oh no, I think you picked no. You picked the Colts to beat the Steelers. That's what it was.
I picked the Colts.
You picked the Colts to win. That's what it was.
Dang.
So that's where it was.
Okay.
I went 2-1 as well though. So right now I'm sitting at 15-6 in the standings. You're sitting at 12-9. And Gel had a pretty decent week. He went 2-1 as well. Actually, he was now 10-11 heading into these next couple of games. He needs to pick up a little bit of slack. Honestly, you need to pick up a little bit of slack as well. But honestly, I mean, this race has gotten a lot closer now, and I'm definitely excited to see where it shakes out. But regardless, what do you have for this upcoming week?
I'm taking Sunday night. I'm taking the Steelers over the Chargers in LA.
Okay, I don't hate that.
I am taking the Ravens over the Vikings in Minnesota.
Yep.
Because I think Ravens are definitely on their playoff push, and I don't think they're losing more than 2 more games this year.
Yeah.
If Lamar can stay healthy.
Absolutely. The Ravens are honestly their best football's ahead of them. I agree.
And I'm going to be a homer and take the 49ers at home against the Rams. Rams are favored by 3.5 right now.
It's a close game, though. It's going
to be a good game. But we handle the Rams no matter what in the regular season most of the time.
We do.
So we will see.
We'll see. I mean, hey, we
have to have a good home game.
Yes, we absolutely do. Honestly, I mean, even if we do lose this game, which obviously I would much rather win this game, as long as we play good competitive football, I'll be okay with it, especially considering how many injuries we've had this year, which actually is what I'm going to be touching up on now. Injury report this week. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, big injury coming out with his elbow. That thing bent backwards. That's not supposed to happen. He could be out for the year. He'll be out for a long period of time, so we'll see kind of how that shakes out. Tucker Kraft, the Packers tight end, he tore his ACL in that loss to the Panthers this week. He's out for the year. He's done, which is rough. They were actually in the market for a tight end. They tried to trade for Raiders' Michael Mayer, which I actually don't hate because he kind of has a similar build to Tucker Kraft, so that would have been good for them if they were able to land him. CJ Stroud has a concussion. He might not play this week. I'm not entirely sure. He went out early in that game against the Broncos with that concussion. So we'll see kind of how he shakes out over the week and see if he ends up playing this week. Marvin Mims, receiver for the Broncos, another concussion. It's a lot of concussions, man. Every single week there's 2 or 3 concussions to players, whether it's big name guys or not. It just seems like everyone's just hitting their head too hard. They're playing just hard football.
Did you notice the 49ers game? Well, I'm not sure if you were watching it or not, but they announced Stout being out with a concussion, and then he was back in the game.
Yeah.
2 plays later, so I don't know what that was all about.
I guess a false positive on the concussion. I don't know. False positive happen all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the Niners, Mikael Williams, dude, I'm so tired of ACL injuries. What is it with our players and not being able to keep their legs intact, man? It's just every single year, every single week, there is people tearing their ACL, their Achilles. It's not even just us. It's pretty much every team in the NFL that is dealing with this.
Well, especially in a certain stadium.
Yes, in the stadium that shall not be named.
We won't talk about it.
We don't talk about that stadium because everybody loses something or someone in that stadium. It's ridiculous. That stadium is basically a graveyard for muscles for players, and. Yeah, it's crazy because they did a whole study on it. They brought in experts and everything, and they said realistically, there's nothing wrong with the turf or with the field in general. It's literally just bad luck.
You have an outside stadium. You shouldn't be allowed to have turf,
right?
I understand the grass freezes when it's cold or whatever, but just I don't know.
But there's teams that
play in real grass,
right? There's teams that are playing in cold weather where they have
way colder,
right? I believe it's the Packers did this. They put basically heating tubes under their grass. Yeah. So that way when it snows, it's going to be a little bit easier to play in that weather, which I think is smart and more teams should be doing that. Yeah. But that's just me. And I'm gonna butcher this name. The Bears pass rusher, Dio Odeyingbo. I'm apologizing if I butchered that name. That's tough. That's tough to say, man. He tore his Achilles, which is why the Bears traded for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. It's rough, but they got their replacement at least for the time being, and then coming into next year, we'll see kind of how that pays out because he was a big free agent signing for them to be basically the guy against Montez Sweat and pair up with him and help their pass rush. And he's been playing pretty solid this year, but now he's out for the year with an Achilles tear. So they're going to look for next season for him. Another season-ending injury, Marshawn Lattimore, corner for the Washington Commanders, tore his ACL in that loss to the Seahawks. Dude, it is pretty much almost every injury on this list right now is season-ending, and I'll talk about another one here in a second. But I don't understand what it is this year in season-ending injuries. It seems like there's tons and tons of players doing it every single week.
Every week.
And another one I'll talk about right now, Joe Alt, tackle for the Chargers. He was out for most of this year, played 3 games, and now he's out for the year with an ankle injury. Just had surgery on it, or he's going to have surgery on it.
Wow.
It's just, I can't, every single year, man. Every single week, every single year. He just got back a couple days ago, essentially, and he's already gone, which is why they've traded for Trevor Penning.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying. It's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. It helps the issue. It doesn't solve the issue.
Yep.
They need Joe Alt back. They need Rashawn Slater back, which is not going to happen this year with his injury. It's rough, man. It's rough. I feel bad for a lot of these guys that they work so hard to come back, and 5 minutes after they come back, they're out for the year.
Yep.
It's just rough, man.
Football's a tough sport.
It's really tough, and it's crazy because we talk about this all the time at wanting the league to take care of their players, and they have gotten a lot better over the last few years. That's why they're doing a lot more of these studies to see what is going on. That's why I think after last year, because last year had a lot of hamstrings. That was the big issue was hamstring injuries. So they took a big study and did a whole lot of research to try and help prevent hamstring injuries as much as they can. Granted, there's still been a few, but it's been significantly less than what we saw over the last couple of years. Now they need to work on the ACLs and Achilles and all these just season-ending injuries that we're seeing every week. But one thing we're going to talk about as well, of course, you guys watch us every week. You guys know we like to talk about fantasy football as well. We're going to talk about the waiver wire roster for this week. For my quarterback, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers. He's been balling most of this year, and I definitely expect him to continue that this upcoming week. We're going to see how he shakes out. I do have what team are they playing again? I totally forgot. They're playing the Chargers this week. So that's a get right game for them. Absolutely. They need, with Aaron Rodgers, he needs to be playing at his best against a very 50-50 Chargers defense this upcoming week. Running back, I'm taking Bam Knight, running back for the Cardinals. Playing against the Seahawks this week is definitely interesting, but the Seahawks, they have a very 50-50 run defense. Earlier in the year, I actually looked at this because I wanted to see. I believe it was Mari DiMercato, I believe is what his name was. He was a running back for the Cardinals earlier this year before they cut him. When they played Seattle earlier this year, he had 10 fantasy points in that game. And Bam Knight, now he's a starter. I'm expecting to see a pretty similar production from him this week against the Seahawks. Right receiver this week, I'm taking Trey Tucker, the receiver for the Raiders. Now that Jacoby Myers is out of town, a lot of those targets are about to open up. Granted, a lot of them are probably going to go to Brock Bowers, but I think we're going to see Trey Tucker get a huge amount of targets this upcoming week against the Broncos, which is definitely a game that they need to win if they want to. I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, but if they want to try and make the playoffs, they need to win this week against the Broncos. And I think spreading out the football is the best way to do that. Granted, give most of the targets to your best player in Brock Bowers, but I mean, your best receiver this year has really been Trey Tucker. He's been leading your team in receiving yards almost every week this season. It's been him and Brock Bowers that have been leading your team in receiving yards. Give him the football as well. Tight end this week, I'm taking the rookie Harold Fannin Jr. for the Cleveland Browns against the New York Jets, especially now that they've gotten rid of Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. I think they're going to be a little bit more of a pass-heavy team this week. And I think a lot of those targets are going to open up for Harold Fannin, which is why I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I picked up Harold Fannin this week to try and, get some extra points out of my tight end this week. I definitely need that. For my flex, I'm taking Josh Downs, the receiver for the Colts. Now that AD Mitchell is out of town, I think a lot of targets, not a lot of targets, but there are going to be some targets that open up for him. He's been playing great this year, and I think we're only going to see that continue this week. Next, my defense, I'm taking Carolina. They're playing New Orleans. I mean, that's the most straightforward answer I can give you. It's because they're playing New Orleans. New Orleans has not been playing great. Tyler Shuck I don't think he's there yet, and I don't think he's going to be playing that great against a pretty decent Panthers defense this week. And my kicker this week, I'm taking Cairo Santos, the kicker for the Bears. He's definitely got a little bit of work ahead of him. He's missed some time this season, but we're going to see how they fare against a pretty decent New York Giants team. I think what's going to happen this week is the Giants, they have a fantastic pass rush. I think it's going to help prevent Caleb Williams and co. from doing as much this week, and I think they're going to have to settle for a lot of field goals, and that's where Cairo is going to come in, as long as he doesn't tear his ACL or something, because actually they're not playing in MetLife, so it'll actually be okay. They'll actually be okay. They're not playing in MetLife. They're playing in Chicago, the Windy City. So we'll see kind of how that shakes out for this week. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for our show this week. Definitely in the comments, give us your predictions for what's going to happen this upcoming week. And I will see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have Engel back as long as he doesn't, go to the dentist again. But thank you guys so much for tuning in every week. And I will see you guys next week.